Chapter 8, we're going to go through the appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton is, you guys remember, this is axial skeleton, the one in the orange. Appendicular would be in the yellow, okay? The pectoral girdle and the upper limb and the pelvic girdle and the lower limb. Okay, this will be a short one, but a lot of review as well because we went through this chapter 6 already. So, all right, let's go through it. So the clavicle, there is, you can see that this is the lateral view. There is no joint on this side. There's a joint on this side. Of course, in the lab, you won't be able to tell that there's a joint there. But if you look at it, there's an S shape. This one is more, flatter on this side. So this is looking at the top view. Okay, and here's looking at the bottom view. Okay, the clavicle articulate with the scapula. It articulates with the scapula at the acromion process. That's why this is called this part right there is called the AC joint. Okay, this is the A part of the clavicle. This is the A part of the scapula, and this is the clavicle. So that's the AC joint. Okay. The proximal end is attached to the sternum. Highly mobile, only the body articulation with the axial skeleton. So this part is articulated with the sternum. Okay. It's the only horizontal long bone, protective nerve and blood vessel which pass through the limb. Rarely dislocate, but often fracture. Okay, if you see people, if you look at their sternum, you can't see me now, but you might feel a bump there. Okay, they will usually, if it's broken, they will usually just leave it alone and let it heal on its own. Okay, so again, here is the scapula. Okay, and let's find out where the anterior and posterior view is. Okay, remember the first thing we look at is the spine. Okay, every time we find the spine, this is the posterior part. Okay, and without the spine, the smooth part, it sits on top of the ribs. Okay, several things to remember on this guy: spine of the scapula, the glenoid fossa, or the cavity, glenoid fossa. Okay, we already saw the acromion, okay, which articulates with the scapula. Okay, this is the coracoid process. Now remember I told you, be careful not to confuse this with the coronoid process in the mandible. Okay, suprascapular notch. Okay, this is the supraspinatus fossa, infraspinatus fossa. Okay, so this would be, so your arms are out here, right? Your arms out here. The humerus goes into the glenoid cavity. So this will be the lateral side. This will be the medial side. Okay, that's the posterior side. And this is the anterior side. Okay. The humerus, several things to remember here. The greater trochanter. All these names can get very confusing. Okay, so the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle. The bicipital tendon grows from the bicep, actually goes in here. Okay. Let's see what else you need to know. Okay, so on the elbow you have the lateral epicondyle, which is the lateral side. Okay, so this is the back. Okay, this is the back because you have the olecranon of the ulnar, the most bony part of the ulnar right there. Okay, that's the olecranon of the ulnar, and that's the lateral side. It's got the epicondyle on the lateral side and the medial epicondyle. Okay, So the humerus articulate with the radius and ulnar. Okay. What else do we need to remember here? Okay, here you need to remember the olecranon fossa. That's where the olecranon goes in. Okay, when we so here's the olecranon. Okay, yeah, right there. When I make my hand straight, it actually goes into the olecranon fossa. Okay, so here's the front view. When I make it straight, it goes right into that little hole in the back of it. Okay. The trochlear and the capitulum. This is the anterior portion of the distal part of the humerus. So that would be the proximal part, and this is the distal part. Okay, capitulum and the trochlear. The trochlear will go to the will articulate with the olecranon, with the ulnar and the capitulum, and it will articulate with the head of the radius, which is right there. Okay. Again, that's the olecranon process. When you make your hand straight, it goes into the olecranon fossa. Let's see. So, the notches. You remember the trochlear articulate with the trochlear articulate with the ulnar, and the capitulum goes with the head of the radius. Okay, so process, we have the olecranon process and the coronoid process. Okay, again, don't confuse that with the coracoid process. Remember, we have another coronoid in the jaw. Okay. So remember, the shape of the radius is small on top and bigger on the bottom, and the olecranon, the ulnar, it's got the big hook on top and a little bitty at the end. Okay. And they all have a little styloid process. Okay. Remember the styloid process in the skull. Okay, it looks like a fang. The carpal bones, you don't have to remember all the carpal bones. Okay. 5 metacarpals. These are 5 metacarpals. Okay. Phalanges. Okay, there are proximal, middle, and distal phalanges. Okay, the metacarpals. Pelvis. Again, they are called coxa, and here is the sacrum. Okay, ilium, which is the top part, the ischium, ilium, ischium. Here's the acetabulum. This is where the femur head sits in. Okay, ilium, ischium. So this is the back. Here's the obturator foramen, where the sitting bone. You can call it the sitting bone. Here, a couple of things that will get people confused. You got to find the front